Welcome, boys and girls, to another lesson with your teacher, Teacher Felix. I want to welcome you into today's lesson, hoping and trusting that you are safe at home, you are doing well, you are keeping the spirit of hard work with or without being in school. We believe, as we always say, we shall overcome. It is not the end of the journey. Tomorrow is better than today. That is my slogan. My tomorrow is always better than my today. Adopt the same. Good. Welcome. We learned about soil, our topic soil, in class 7, under which we looked at some fertilizers. We looked at the meaning of fertilizers and all that. Today, we are continuing. Our subtopic is type of fertilizers. The objective is by the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to explain the meaning of fertilizers, and two, you are supposed to classify two types of fertilizers. One, you explain the meaning of fertilizers, and two, clarify two types of fertilizers. Our point of reference, if you want to refer from a textbook, primary science, among other books, you can go to primary science, pupils book, page 93 to 94. That is standard 7 science book. Hope you have your books at home. Good. Let's go to our introduction, and we say, in our previous lesson, we learned that fertilizers are chemical substances or artificial. They are grouped into two. Fertilizers, we said, are grouped as chemical, which are artificial. Fertilizers are chemical. That is what we learned, that fertilizers are chemical or artificial substances added to soil to improve its fertility. We said they are chemical or artificial substances added to soil to improve its fertility. That is what we learned in our previous lesson. I repeat, we said fertilizers are chemical or artificial substances added to soil to improve its fertility. And we remember we said soil fertility is the ability of soil to produce high yields for a long period of time. The ability of soil to produce high yields for a long period of time. We also learned that plant nutrients are grouped into two, depending on the plant requirement of the nutrients. We said these are macro or major nutrients, or we have minor or micro nutrients. Do you remember them? Can you give me an example of major nutrient? Somebody to list two major nutrients. Any? Yes, we talked about things like hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, among others. What about minor nutrients? Who can name for us some of the minor nutrients? Minor nutrients? Who can remember? Yes. List them. 1, 2, 3. Hope you are saying with me. Good. Let's go. 1. We talked about zinc. We talked about copper. We talked about molybdenum. We talked about boron. We talked about manganese. Remember we said manganese is a minor nutrient, while magnesium is a major nutrient. Those are some of the things we looked at in our previous lesson. So let's proceed and see what we have at fertilizers now. Types of fertilizers. Remember, fertilizers, we are talking about chemical substances. These are made artificially by men We are saying fertilizers are artificial manures. Artificial. From the word art. Who makes art? God does not design art. It's human beings that design art. So we are saying fertilizers are artificial manures. They are manufactured chemicals which supply nutrients into the soil to be absorbed by plants through roots. And I believe you know this, that one of the functions of plant roots is to absorb nutrients. You remember that? Good. So plants absorb these nutrients through the roots. So fertilizers are artificial manures. They are manufactured using chemicals and added to soil to supply nutrients. These nutrients are manufactured also in the industry. So we can talk about factories that manufacture these fertilizers. The scientists sit down, they design those nutrients depending on what they know about the nutrients. Then they pack for the farmers to buy. Farmers apply these fertilizers into the soil to supply these nutrients to plants. Then plants absorb them through their roots. These fertilizers are classified according to the nutrients they supply. Listen to that. Fertilizers are classified according to the nutrients they supply. These classifications are as follows. We have two types of fertilizers. We have straight fertilizer and compound fertilizers. Two types of chemical or artificial fertilizers. One, straight fertilizer and compound fertilizers. So we have straight and compound, straight and compound. So we have straight fertilizers and compound fertilizers. We are going to look at straight fertilizers in this lesson. We might not look at everything about straight fertilizers, but we are going to look at what are these straight fertilizers. Remember, we have said fertilizers are classified depending on the nutrients they supply. So let us look at straight fertilizers. Straight fertilizers. Straight fertilizers contain only one macronutrient. Wow. Listen to this. And I think that is why they are called it straight. It's just straight to one. Like we say, straight to the point, without maneuvering. So we are saying straight fertilizers contain only one macronutrient. You remember the macronutrients? Which may be nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium. And these are very key points. You should note that we are saying for a fertilizer to be called straight fertilizer, it must have only one of the following three. Either nitrogen, either phosphorus, or potassium only. It can have nitrogen only, it can have phosphorus only, or it can have potassium only. For a straight fertilizer to be called straight fertilizer, it must contain one macronutrient. This macronutrient can either be nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium. Those three. So straight fertilizers contain only one macronutrient, which can be phosphorus, potassium, or nitrogen. Note that the fertilizers are named according to the nutrients it contains. Listen to that. Fertilizers are named according to the nutrients it contains. Any fertilizer is named depending on the nutrient it contains. Straight fertilizers are also grouped into three. Remember, we have said they have three macronutrients. Straight fertilizers can contain either nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium. So we have three. When a straight fertilizer contains nitrogen, it is called nitrogenous fertilizer. Are you getting that? They are grouped into three depending on the three macronutrients they can contain in one. So we are saying if it has nitrogen, it is called nitrogenous fertilizer, supplying nitrogen nutrients. If it has potassium, it is called potassic fertilizer, supplying potassium nutrients. Then if it has phosphorus, it is called phosphatic fertilizer. Phosphatic fertilizers only supply phosphorus nutrients. So these are three types of straight fertilizers. Remember, we have said straight fertilizers provide only one macronutrient. Those providing nitrogen are called nitrogenous. Those providing potassium are called potassic. And those providing phosphorus are called phosphatic. Are we together? And I repeat, straight fertilizers provide only one macronutrient, either nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium. The one providing nitrogen is called nitrogenous. The one providing potassium is called potassic. And the one providing phosphorus is called phosphatic. Fertilizers. Three types of straight fertilizers. 1, nitrogenous. 2, phosphatic. 3, potassic. Those ones are the three types of straight fertilizers. Now, let us look at nitrogenous fertilizers. What are these nitrogenous fertilizers and some of the examples? We are going to say nitrogenous fertilizers provide nitrogen nutrients. They provide nitrogen nutrients. Examples of nitrogenous fertilizers are calcium ammonium nitrate. Wow, I know now you're learning new terms. These are new scientific terms. Calcium ammonium nitrate. Ooh, that name is big, but only providing one macronutrient, that is nitrogen. So calcium ammonium nitrate is a straight fertilizer that provides nitrogen. Calcium ammonium nitrate. The next one is sulfate of ammonia. Sulfate of ammonia that provides nitrogen. It provides nitrogen. Sulfate of ammonia is an example of a straight fertilizer that provides nitrogen nutrients to the plants. We have another one called urea. Another one is called urea. Not urine. No. It's called urea. Though urea is a component of urine, we are going to look at that in class 8. Good. Then we have blood meal. Blood meal. It is not the meal for blood. I know now our friends, the Maasais we have in the house now, start saying we are talking about blood meal, a meal from blood, or a meal made from blood. Yes, this name blood meal is just a type of fertilizer that is made from blood products. Woo! It is made from blood products, but it makes a very high content producer. It's a very high content producer of nitrogen to plants. A very high nitrogen producer to plants. Are we together? So can you name the examples of nitrogenous fertilizers? We have said calcium ammonium nitrate, sulfate of ammonia, urea, and blood meal. Calcium ammonium nitrate, sulfate of ammonia, urea, and blood meal. These are straight fertilizer providing plants with nitrogen. They are straight fertilizers providing plant with nitrogen. Remember, we have said straight fertilizers provide only one macronutrient. So these are fertilizers that provide nitrogen as the macronutrient. Point taken home? Good. There is an NB here saying nitrogenous fertilizers are used as top dressing fertilizers. Top dressing? Do they dress? What do we mean by the word top dressing? Are they dressing plants? Let's read that statement again. Nitrogenous fertilizers are used as top dressing fertilizers. Oh, I understand the word top dressing. Top dressing simply means They are added when the plants have germinated. They are applied to plants after the plants have germinated. So, nitrogenous fertilizers are added to soil on young plants. Are we getting one another? Yes. Nitrogenous fertilizers are added to soil to the plants that are growing. Young plants that are growing. The teacher amefanya nini? Hiyo sasa. So we are saying nitrogenous fertilizers are used as top dressing fertilizers. They are added to plants when they are young, growing plants. Young growing plants. How do you call young growing plants? How do you call young growing plants? We call them seedlings. So they are added to seedlings in the seed beds. Seed beds are farms where crops are growing. Seed beds are places where crops are growing. So nitrogenous fertilizers are used as top dressing fertilizers. Top dressing fertilizers, which means they are used in the farms for young plants, applied on young plants growing in the farm. We have said young plants are called seedlings. Seedlings are grown in the seed beds. Seed beds. Seed beds. The nursery beds are where young plants are raised to be transplanted. They are called nursery beds, where young plants are raised so that they can be transplanted. Again, let's go back to our work. We said nitrogenous fertilizers are four: calcium ammonium nitrate, sulfate of ammonia, urea, and blood meal. Good. They provide nitrogen. Let's look at potassic fertilizers. They provide crops with potassium. They provide plants with potassium. They provide plants with potassium. Potassic fertilizers provide plants or crops with potassium. Potassic fertilizers provide crops with potassium. They are two. We have two examples of potassic fertilizers. We have two examples of potassic fertilizers. These are muriate. Wow, that name sounds it. Muriate of potash. Muriate of potash. Muriate. Wow. I wish it was a name of a human being. Muriate of potash. These are sweet scientific names, boys and girls. They sound sweet. So we are talking about muriate of potash, a potassic fertilizer. Muriate of potash. Another one is called potassium sulfate. Potassium sulfate. So two examples of potassic fertilizers: muriate of potash and potassium sulfate. They provide plants with potassium. Straight fertilizers. Potassium is a macronutrient provided by muriate of potash and potassium sulfate. Good. Let us go to the next one very fast. We have phosphatic fertilizers. Phosphatic fertilizers. They provide, or they are sources of phosphorus nutrients for the plants. Phosphatic provide phosphorus. Phosphatic fertilizers provide phosphorus nutrients to the plants. Phosphatic fertilizers are straight fertilizers. They are used during planting time. They are used during planting time. What does this one tell us? It means phosphorus is needed by plants mostly when they are germinating. That is why phosphatic fertilizers are used during planting time. When you are planting the seeds, use phosphatic fertilizers. Remember, we said nitrogenous fertilizers are used during top dressing period When the crops have germinated, the seedlings are growing. So phosphatic ones are used when the plants are being planted or the seeds are being planted. Examples of phosphatic fertilizers are single. I hope it is not okay. Single super phosphate. Single super phosphate. Oh, so we have single super phosphate, double super phosphate, triple super phosphate. Ooh, these are the simplest to grasp, the simplest to understand. Examples of phosphatic fertilizers. One, single super phosphate, double super phosphate, triple super phosphate. Then we have one we are going to look at. So can we see this one? Examples of phosphatic fertilizer. Examples of phosphatic fertilizers. Single superphosphate, double super. So, teacher, you lost. So we go single superphosphate, double superphosphate. That one doesn't come out. That is like a riddle. So we have single superphosphate, double superphosphate, triple superphosphate. Single superphosphate, double superphosphate, triple superphosphate. They are phosphatic fertilizers. Phosphatic fertilizers. Single superphosphate, double superphosphate, triple superphosphate. Then we have a last one that is a bit unique. It's called bone meal. Bone meal. This one is not a meal, is a type of fertilizer. It provides phosphorus to plants. Bone meal is also made from bones. It is made from bones, which provide good phosphorus or phosphorus nutrients to plants. Examples of phosphatic fertilizers: single superphosphate, double superphosphate, triple superphosphate, bone meal. Examples of phosphatic fertilizers: single superphosphate, double superphosphate, triple superphosphate, and bone meal. Good. Do you remember examples of potassic? Yes, we said muriate of potash, potassium sulfate. Examples of straight fertilizers, of nitrogenous fertilizers: calcium ammonium nitrate, sulfate of ammonia, urea, and bone meal. Good boys and girls, teachers talked too much. In summary, we are saying the following are they are straight fertilizers. The following, all of these together now without putting them like straight, like nitrogenous, phosphatic, potassic. All these are nitrogenous fertilizers: calcium ammonium nitrate, sulfate of ammonia, urea, blood meal, muriate of potash, potassium sulfate, single superphosphate, double superphosphate, triple superphosphate, and bone meal. Good. Hope we have understood this topic. We were looking at straight fertilizers, where we said straight fertilizers are grouped into three, depending on the nutrient they carry. Before we looked at those examples, we said straight fertilizers contain only one major nutrient, macronutrient, which can be nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium. We have looked at examples of those that provide nitrogen. We have looked at examples of those that provide nitrogen, potassium, and we have also looked at those that provides potassium. Thank you very much for being in this lesson. I love you so much. Bye.